We will continue to focus on AI. A Google search for privacy and cybersecurity with AI gives you approximately 300 million results in 0.34 seconds, highlighting that while AI offers tremendous potential in data and private security, it also raises significant challenges and ethical considerations. We will go deeper into this now and listen to a panel discussion titled Responsible AI with Privacy and Cybersecurity in Mind, a forward-facing approach.
And to guide us through this panel, we'd like to welcome our colleague Felix Wideroth.
Good morning, everyone. Let's see if my mic is working. And welcome to this panel discussion about responsible AI and cybersecurity and privacy in mind. And I will be your moderator today, and we are honored to have 3 panelists here today, and would like to welcome you up to the stage. We have, welcome up. We have my colleague from the Czech Republic, Christina. She's the lead for the digital ethics and compliance at PwC. She has over 7 years of experience in this field. Together with us, we also have Tommy. Tommy is a strategic ecosystem developer at AI Sweden, Sweden's National Institute for Applied AI. And he's also been the program director for one of Sweden's largest innovation programs, including AI, cybersecurity, and complex systems of systems. And lastly, we have Ängla Pändel. She's a senior associate at Mannheimer Swartling law firm, and she's specialized in data protection and digital compliance, and she's also the chairman of the Swedish Institute of Law and Internet. Welcome, and very glad to have you here today. So, as we start the crossroads of technological advancements and ethical considerations, the development and deployment of AI systems is a very hot topic right now. And AI presents us both with great opportunities and, as we heard, also great challenges that we need to overcome. And with the topic of today, responsible AI, I have some questions that I'd like to discuss with you. So I would start with you, Tommy, and I'd like all of you to pitch in. So looking at the evolving landscape, how do you see the evaluation of privacy and cybersecurity concerns as AI technologies advance?
Well, first of all, thank you for the kind introduction. I truly believe that we are at the brink of the biggest transformation that modern society has ever seen. AI will give us great opportunities, and we have seen some examples from the keynote, but it also comes with great risks. Looking at the generative AI, we will see an efficiency and productivity increase using generative AI models. Just looking at the development for the last 18 months in generative AI and the way AI can produce text, image, video, and speech, and try to project what that can do in 2 years from now. Well, I don't believe that we can distinguish what is synthetically generated and what is real. And what that means out of a risk perspective is that we need to relearn how we interpret and react to information. When we read text, when we see videos, when we hear speech, we need to react to that and interact to that in a completely different way in 2 years from now, rather than today, compared to today.
Yeah. Very interesting. Ängla and Christina.
First of all, thank you everyone for being here today. I totally agree that it's a very interesting time in our history, but also I think it's interesting in terms of reconsidering what privacy really means. So privacy is about individuals keeping power over who knows what about them, and it's the fundamental element of empowerment and keeping control over our lives in this digital world. And I think specifically what the previous speaker mentioned, the way we use AI can be an interesting challenge for that. An example that I think would be good to think about is the use of LLMs in applications like AI-based girlfriends, boyfriends, therapists, and things like that, which there was recently a Mozilla study that found that it's a widely spread phenomenon, application that probably resolves some issues around loneliness in the modern day. But at the same time, there's very little transparency around how that data is used. The bots are pre-programmed to encourage you to share very personal details about yourselves, to share photos, to share audio files. And of course, we know that now with the generation of deepfakes, just with a few minutes of somebody's voice, you can also generate their voice. So I think these new vectors of attack or data collection are particularly interesting and difficult, and will be difficult to think about how we continue to empower individuals, respect their autonomy, while at the same time, of course, also respecting, you know, if they want to use an AI girlfriend, use it.
Yeah, interesting. Ängla?
Yeah, well, I can just agree. I think it's an incredible tool from a business perspective. I think it can do a lot of good. But with regards to the challenging, of course, we see the bias and the deep fakes and all of these challenges. And I mean, like, all the time when I talk about internet and law, it's like the dog chasing its tail. Like, the law will never, ever keep up. And that's why I think, and I think we'll talk about this a little bit later, but like the legal aspects of it is that we can't regulate anything before it actually happens. I mean, the porn industry is always first. Like, they start making deep fakes very, very accurately, and they start with the celebrities, and then they move on, and you have revenge porn websites just constructed to just really, really slander other people and violate their privacy completely. So you see, it starts with the porn, and then you also have the examples of child pornography, which is a huge problem. And I mean, these are the negative aspects, and I think it's difficult to see that the law will just solve everything, but I think it's about establishing like the main fundamental question of it, which is that this is human rights we're talking about, basically.
Very interesting. And continuing on that, the legal aspects, in what ways can legislation keep the pace with rapid advancements? What is your take on that?
Well, it's the usual things. First of all, it's like the main thing that all lawyers would say is going to be tech neutral. And I think that is also because lawyers are generally really bad at tech. But I mean, being tech neutral is also about, we had this legislation in Sweden, which was to protect the privacy. Before that, we had no protection at all for example, revenge porn. And when implementing this legislation, we suggested from my organization that it was going to also have like what's called a slasktratt, which is pretty much the one that's supposed to catch everything that we can't predict. And the legislator removed that part. And just 1 month after this legislation entered into force in Sweden, it started to be applied. The violation that was supposed to be covered by this legislation started to be applied in a way, or used in a way, which was not covered by this new criminal act. So, I mean, missing target is very, very common, I think, in the legislative process, and that is a huge challenge. And just moving on to the next step, I think it's really important. We're talking about a lot about AI Act, and we're talking about like principles and scope and everything, but I think it's really important to also look at the other legislative processes that are going on. I mean, CSRD and CSDDD are the sustainability legislation, and they are not privacy focused, but they do have privacy within them. Which will, to a main extent, according to me, be challenged or triggered by AI.
Very interesting. And any comments, any takes on that?
Yes, I can add to that. I think that given the fast pace of technology development, we need to have agile regulatory frameworks because when we develop new AI technologies, that creates a green field out of a legislative point of view, and that can be exploited. So we need to have fast regulations of new AI technologies. And we also need regulatory sandboxes where we can try out new AI technologies, new AI applications together with regulators, so that the regulation also gets more proactive rather than reactive to the things that are coming up.
Totally agree with the need for regulatory sandboxes or other spaces where regulators cooperate with innovators, but I think at the core of what it is that legislation can never be overly prescriptive. We can't anticipate everything that's going to happen with technology, so the best that's been done so far is essentially betting on some general principles, maybe human rights-based approach, and maybe the AI Act did not succeed in keeping it itself high level in terms of its requirements, but what I also like from it is the fact that it took a very broad AI definition that focused on the automation inference part of AI, so excluding pre-programmed, programs and systems programmed by humans with the logic if-then. So covering everything that has this special stochastic element of AI, and then applying this risk-based approach to target requirements where their potential impact on humans is higher, which I think is the best that you can do. Try to have a proportionate targeting of requirements and try to keep the requirements focused on outcomes. Sorry. Try to keep the requirements focused on outcomes and then leave it up to technology people who are best at technology to figure out how to achieve that.
And very interesting. And succeeding with AI is all about building trust, and the legislative process and legislation is, of course, a huge part of that. But let's deep dive into the domain of public trust. So how can the industry, both the public and the private sector, maintain and build that trust to ensure that AI is used with cybersecurity and privacy in mind? Christina, do you have a take?
I think the transparency and this lack of information that I mentioned already with the first question is a really big aspect of this. There is a lot of secrecy, for example, around what data has been used to create large language models like the GPT models. So slowly, I think there are different elements of different laws, at least in the EU, that are trying to untangle this information asymmetry. The AI Act has some requirements around the creators of foundation models providing summary information about what data they've used for training their AI systems. There is also in the Digital Services Act some requirements for transparency. For example, when you see a targeted advertisement, you should be able to see why that advertisement has been targeted to you, so you have information around that. There are slowly different elements building up to this more transparent environment that should hopefully empower individuals.
Thank you so much. And thank you everyone that has participated in this session. Sorry for the small technical problems and the sound during this. But I would also like to thank our panel. A warm round of applause for participating.
Thank you.
And as we look forward, we look forward to discuss this topic, of course, off stage. Please reach out. And until then, stay informed, stay curious, and later.